this is a very important topic. Let's say you are a single member LLC, right? And you want to file taxes for the first time, for the very first time this year. This is the video you want to watch because I'll be explaining to you how to file single member LLC taxes for the very first time. Don't you go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweaty Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you had to ask me. If you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. In today's conversation, we are going to talk about how to file single member LLC taxes for the first year. Of course, we are speaking about single member LLC business taxes for the first year. It's very important that, the IRS recently has come up with some numbers where they were talking about nearly 30 million sole proprietorships in the United States are in existence today, making it the most popular form of business ownership. And there is a reason for it. A sole proprietorship requires no startup paperwork and is a very simple way to run a small business. That's why when most business owners start out, they begin as a sole proprietorship. But eventually, many sole proprietorships switch to a limited liability company formation for liability protection. So with an LLC, you have limited personal liability, which helps some small business owners sleep more soundly at night. And you know what? That's really good. But moving to an LLC, it changes more than liability. How you pay income taxes may also change. So in today's conversation, I want to cover the different requirements for filing your taxes as an LLC for the very first time, as a single member LLC for the very first time. So let's talk about the default status. Very important. So the thing is, if you want to pay income taxes for your single member LLC, the IRS will throw you a bit of a curveball. They don't actually recognize LLCs as an entity, so you can create and register your single member LLC in a state. But as far as the IRS is concerned, there is no income tax for an LLC. Okay, unfortunately, that doesn't mean you get to skip paying income taxes altogether. So the IRS will basically assign a default tax status based on whether just one person or multiple people run the LLC. But in the case of a single member LLC, we have only one person. So you will be taxed as a sole proprietorship. That is what it is. Okay, and if you don't make a choice, by default, your single member LLC will be taxed as a sole proprietorship. So how do you file taxes as a single member LLC? So if you are the one and only member of your LLC, the IRS will treat your tax status as a disregarded entity unless you elect otherwise. So you can elect to be a C Corp or an S Corp. Okay, so your tax status will look very similar to a sole proprietorship. In other words, the business is not separate from the owners for tax purposes. For legal purposes, you have the legal liability. Okay, so you have the legal sheet, so that's fine. So to submit and pay taxes as a single member LLC, you will file Schedule C with your personal income tax return, and that amount will then be included as income or loss on your personal tax return form 1040. Okay, there is an exception here though. If your LLC owns rental properties, the information will be included on Part 1 of Schedule E instead of Schedule C. And remember, those tax returns are due by April 15th, along with your personal tax return. Let's talk about tax payments. So if you are a single member LLC and you are filing taxes for the very first time, you have to know something called estimated quarterly tax payments. So the US actually operates as a pay-as-you-go tax system, meaning you have to make income tax payments throughout the year. So if you complete your LLC taxes using the default tax status, in other words, you're a sole proprietorship, you need to make estimated tax payments. So these tax payments are due 4 different times a year. So that's April, June, September, and January of the following year. So you can make estimated tax payments using Form 1040-ES, or you can go online on IRS Direct Pay or EFTPS, the Electronic Federal Tax Payment System. Very important. So don't forget to actually keep track of your payments made, because you will need to report them on your tax return. Okay, so let's quickly talk about self-employment taxes. It's very important to understand the distinction we're actually covering here. So whether you have one member in your LLC or multiple, when you earn income from business activities, the IRS requires you to pay self-employment taxes on your earnings. So this is a total of 15.3%. And basically, this percentage covers Medicare taxes and Social Security taxes. So you will basically use Schedule SC to calculate how much self-employment tax you owe. Okay, this 15.3. So if you elect to be treated as an S corporation or a C corporation, you would not need to pay self-employment taxes. In other words, Medicare taxes and Social Security taxes. And the corporations will pay payroll taxes instead, and those taxes will be taken out of your paycheck. Very important to see the distinction here, okay? Distinction here. One thing I want to see here is that besides estimated quarterly tax payments and self-employment taxes, you also have state income taxes, okay? Now, this video only covers a federal income tax for your single member LLC, but you will also need to file state income tax to report single member LLC income. So you want to check your state requirements for the due dates, the tax forms required, and any fees. You may even need to pay annual filing fees in some states, and you don't want to miss those. Okay, for example, it's very expensive to form limited liability companies in California, because the state charges a minimum annual filing fee of $800. Think about that, $800. And if your business earns more than $250,000, what's going to happen here is that you're going to have an uptick in the fee. So your annual filing fee will be higher, up to $11,790 for companies earning $5 million or more. Let me quickly talk to you about, again, we were speaking about filing single member LLC taxes for the very first time. Okay, I want to talk to you about the tax return due dates. So there are many different ways that single member LLC taxes are paid. And because of this and all of the different tax forms there are in the universe, there are several different due dates. So here is a breakdown very quickly. So single member LLC, your Schedule C and Schedule SC they are due April 15th. Okay, that's the date I want you to focus on. Now, just FYI, if you are a multi-member LLC, in other words, let's say tomorrow you have another partner who joins you, so you need to file Form 1065 and Schedule K1, and those are due March 15th. Schedule E and Schedule SE are due April 15th. Very important to know those dates here. So what about your S corporation? So if you are a single member LLC, but you elect to be treated as an S corp for tax purposes, you need to file Form 1120S and Schedule K1, and those are due March 15th. And if you elect to be treated as a C corp, the Form 1120 is due April 15th. So those are important dates I really want you to remember. And I don't know how you can actually make sure that you can remember those. Maybe have a reminder on an app or whatever, or anything else. So those due dates are based on the business using a calendar year when the business year ends on December 31st. If you cannot get your single member LLC taxes done by those due dates, you can file an extension. Okay, knowingly ignoring a deadline will only lead to failure to file penalties. And note that this gives you an extension to file your taxes, but you will still need to pay your taxes by the original due date. So, quick decision time, big decision time, big decision time. So you are a single member LLC. Have you elected otherwise, or you are going to go for the sole proprietorship? Have you elected to go for C Corp or S Corp? because that carries consequences, or just a partnership because the dates are totally different. Remember, April 15, March 15, depending on the structure you have. Let's talk about tax refund. So, can a single member LLC get a tax refund? This is a very important question that, as we were preparing for this show, we've got a lot of questions from viewers who wanted to know if they can expect a tax refund this year. Well, once you have filed correctly, you may wonder if the IRS will send you and your single member LLC a check for any overpayment. So, aside from the C corporation, all other tax statuses are pass-through entities. Let me repeat that. Aside from the C corporation, all other tax statuses are pass-through entities, meaning what? The individual pays taxes and receives taxes. So you're not going to get a refund at the LLC level. Okay, only C corporations can get a refund. For other LLC filing types, including single member LLC, the business owner will receive a refund. So you will receive a refund, not your business. Okay, so yes, you will get your excess tax payments back, but it will be you receiving the money personally instead of your LLC, your single member LLC, getting a refund check. So very important. Now, let me give you a big decision time here. Big decision time. Are you expecting a refund this year? Have you filed your K1? Have you filed your 1040? Have you filed your Schedule C already? If you are receiving a refund, that's great news, right? Now you have the option, though. You have the option actually to use that refund to pay for next year self-employment tax. Okay, or you can actually allocate the refund to other things in your business. But it's very important, if you are expecting the refund, just make sure that you already know how to allocate that extra cash inflow. Very important. So here is the approach that we have seen our clients do, and we have been we have been analyzing this for the last 20 years. Okay, 20 years. So our clients usually, if they expect a refund, what they do is they just allocate that money into a savings account, into a business savings account. So they basically have a business savings account for their single member LLC, and a business checking account for the single member LLC also. But a refund, anything that is extra, goes into a savings account. So you can call it a rainy day emergency fund, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so this is a good way to actually build cash inflows also at the business level. Very important. Another thing we want to talk about here is that whether or not you can file your single member LLC taxes separately. Well, the thing here is, if you really think about it, since a single member LLC is a business, because it is a business, can you file taxes separately from your personal tax return? Now, the answer is a little murky here. Let me just break it down for you. The answer is yes and no. It really depends on your LLC tax structure. So, if you are a single member LLC, which is actually the topic of today's conversation, if you're a single member LLC, you are a partnership or an S corporation, these are all pass-through entities. This means what? It means that any profits and losses flow through to your tax return. So a pass-through entity means that you are just filing an informational return with the IRS. You're not filing an income or a loss. You're not filing a tax return to actually get money back from the IRS. Only a C corporation can do that. Okay, so but if you are being taxed as a partnership or an S corporation, you need to send in the separate returns and include the income and losses of the LLC on your 1040 individual tax return. This is why it's so important to pay attention to whatever numbers you put on your 1040. So if you elect to be taxed as a C corporation, you will complete your tax return separately. In other words, you have to file Form 1120, right? And so income and losses from the business don't flow through to your personal income tax return. They stay within the company. So big decision time, boss, big decision time. So if you are trying to, let's say you are trying to determine whether or not you need to file your taxes, your single member LLC taxes separately, this will depend on the tax election that you make. Do you want to file as a sole proprietorship? Do you want to file as a partnership or S corporation? Do you want to file as a C corporation? It really depends on you. So here are pro tips. The best way to actually navigate this whole thing, especially since this is the first time you are doing this, is just to let things in the default status. In other words, you file as a sole proprietorship. At least your first year, just leave things as they are. And next year, if you feel more comfortable, or if you are surrounded by experts who understand how taxes work, you can actually try to play around and say, you know what, I want to try another status. I want to elect another status. I want to be a C Corp this year, or I want to be an S Corp. But the very first year, our pro tips are please remain in the default mode and file as a sole proprietorship. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweaty Kiwi Show. We are still having a conversation today about filing single member LLC taxes for the very first time. Okay, let me give you some other relevant information that could actually help you a lot. How do you file taxes as a multi-member LLC? Right now, you are a single member LLC, yes, but tomorrow you might have more partners joining the company. Because a lot of folks start as a single member LLC, and a few years or a few months or a few weeks down the road, they realize they need help. They realize they need founders, co-founders, and there are a lot more partners or members joining the organization. So, if more than one person owns the LLC, the default tax status is to treat it as a partnership. Filing gets a little more complicated with a multi-member LLC versus when there is only one LLC member. So the LLC will need to fill out a partnership information return, which is a Form 1065. We've spoken about that. It will also need to provide a Schedule K1 to each member of the LLC, which includes each partner's shares of income, deductions, and credits. Okay. On your personal Form 1040, you will include the information that you have from your K1 on Part 2 of Schedule E. Okay, Part 2 of Schedule E. And Form 1065 and Schedule K1 are due, I just said this before, by March 15th. So reporting that information on your Form 1040 and Schedule E are due by April 15th. So it's very important to understand the dates here, okay? So how do you file as a corporation? As an LLC, you do have flexibility with your tax status. You can stick with the default options list that I just said earlier, or you can elect to file as a C corporation or an S corporation. This election does not change your business structure. You will still operate as an LLC. It just changes how the IRS expects you to file and pay federal income taxes. Okay, so how do you file as a C corporation? If you want the IRS to tax your LLC as a C corporation, you will need to complete and submit Form 8832 to make this election with the IRS. You then file Form 1120 annually for your business tax return. And how do you file as an S corporation? Well, opting for an S corporation status, this is kind of fine too, but you will need to complete and submit Form 2553 with the IRS. You will then complete Form 1120S annually for your S corporation tax return. But one thing you need to understand here is that an S corporation remains a pass-through entity, meaning it doesn't actually pay taxes itself. So any income and expenses actually flow through to your personal tax return. That means that there are more forms to fill out. So each LLC owner will receive Schedule K1 and will report that information on Part 2 of Schedule E, which gets filed along with Form 1040. To close today's conversation, let's talk about getting help with LLC tax filing, single member LLC tax filing. Now, the thing here is that LLC tax filing can be a challenge. Yeah, depending on your business, your experience level, your knowledge of tax and accounting matters. So it never hurts to revisit tax requirements, especially when filing as a single member LLC for the very first time. think about it. You are in a situation where this is your first time filing a tax return for your single member LLC. So you really want to surround yourself with the best minds possible. Okay, so it's important because understanding the obligations of your specific tax structure and knowing the deadlines, you can file your taxes with confidence. But if filing taxes, if understanding the Internal Revenue Code is not your forte, please reach out to a tax professional. If you are in doubt, definitely talk to a tax professional. This video is just one step forward in the right direction. In other words, you are trying to gather information, but a tax professional will know your situation better. A tax professional can actually understand your business income, your taxable income, and how to pay income tax as a single member LLC. So big decision time, boss. Big decision time. Have you thought about hiring a certified public accountant, a CPA, or an enrolled agent, an EA, or even a tax attorney to do your taxes for the very first time? If you have a very easy company, you can do it yourself. Go online, just pick one software and just do it yourself. But if you are a single member LLC, but you have some sort of a complication in terms of, like, let's say your company is just into a lot of things, and you need help, it's always good to hire someone. So this is very important. And the bonus tip I want to give you here, please, if you have let's say you have people in your circle, in your professional circle, and you have other LLC owners, ask around, ask for referrals. This is really important. Ask people around if they know a good accountant, a good CPA, a good enrolled agent who can help you with filing your single member LLC for taxes for the very first time. And this is going to be very easy for you to find people around you. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I was just talking to you about filing single member LLC taxes for the very first time. So we spoke about your default tax status, tax payments, tax return due dates. We spoke about whether or not you can get a refund for your single member LLC. Can you file taxes separately? Other relevant information, and where you can get help with LLC tax filing. Thank you so much. God bless you. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.